I'm Jen Wilson. I am jenwilson.com. Today's session we are going to do posture reset. Still with some of the essence of yoga where we'll settle into our bodies, do some movement, end in meditation, but the movement section will be more Pilates based so that we can get some movement in, open things up and create some strength. For me, when I'm teaching yoga and Pilates, the main difference in the methods that I use to teach is yoga very much about letting go, relaxing. Pilates is about bringing some strength into our body. So that's where the difference is going to be in today's session. However you want to sit, bring yourself into a seated position. Think about the spine being tall. Close your eyes over and I want you just to tune into your body and notice how it's feeling today. Being aware of your energy, being aware of how your body is connecting into whatever you're sitting on, and notice your posture. Notice where your head sits, the shoulders, how the chest and the back sit and feel, how the spine feels, how the pelvis feels, and then depending on how you're sitting, how your legs feel. And just notice whatever there is to notice. What is your go-to habitual posture? I know for me, if I'm not thinking about it, I'm just going to turn side up, that my head hangs slightly forward, my chin kind of drops forward, neck is overstretched, front of the neck is a little bit tight, the back of the neck feels tight as well. If I'm not thinking about my posture, my shoulders and upper back can kind of be slumped. And it's not always, sometimes it's really comfortable, but it's not always beneficial to be sitting in this really overly relaxed, kind of hanging posture. So notice notice what your posture is doing, and then start to think, what does it feel like to draw the chin in to make the neck long, to try and bring the ear over the shoulder, over the hip when you're in a seated posture. Thinking about the shoulders being down away from the ears, and how does it feel as you draw the shoulder blades back towards each other. Now for some people, when they draw the shoulder blades back towards each other, what will happen is the ribs will pop up and then you go into a tiny bit of a back bend here. So if that's happening for you, notice that it's happening and then see how it feels to stack the ribs over the pelvis. So shoulders are dropped back and down so that the chest can be open, ribs stacked over the pelvis. Some people that might be really effortful to hold that position. So if it is, you're thinking, oh dear Lord, this is really uncomfortable, just let things relax. And then see how it feels to draw it in again. And then let it relax. So come in and out of that a few times. It's really important to be able to hold a tall posture, but it's also really important to be able to relax out of it. So pull it in a couple of times, let it go a couple of times. And then let yourself settle. We're going to put a bit of movement into the shoulders and the neck to free them up before we come up to standing. So give the shoulders a big exaggerated shoulder roll, squeezing them up, back and down, and just notice how this feels. Think about this upper arm bone as you're bringing the shoulder down and forward. Let this upper arm bone roll forward as it's coming up and going back. Upper arm bone rolling out. Again, for some people it's going to be super easy. For some people it might feel a bit clunky and a bit clicky, especially if you spend a lot of time at a computer, on your phone, or leaning forward, whether you're working with kids or patients or anything. So this area across the chest can get really tight, particularly in at the front of the shoulder, and that sometimes presents itself as pain and tightness across the upper back, but it's actually coming from a pulling sensation at the front. Opening that up, let the shoulders settle back and down, and then turn the head. Bring the chin down towards the shoulder, roll across your collarbones, Come up at the other side and then see if you can lift the neck up long without letting your head drop off the back and do a full circle. Bringing it down, take it across, bring it up and take it up and over, and just notice how does that feel through the sides of the neck as you're doing this. We'll go one more time round in this direction and then change direction. So bringing it up and over and then back across the collarbones. So when we change direction, notice if this feels different than when we went the other way round, and it very well might. You might have better mobility, or you might notice points of tension that you weren't aware of in the other direction. One more time round. And then bring the head back into the centre. We're just going to move a bit closer to show you what we're going to do next. So from here, we're going to really exaggerate pulling the chin in. Give yourself a double chin. Doesn't look pretty, but nobody can see you. So that the neck comes along. And notice when you're doing this, does the chest lift, do the ribs pop up? And if they do, can you hold them down and then just pull in and then let it go, and then pull in and let it go, and pull in and let it go, and pull in and then let it go, and let your head and your neck settle in what feels like a comfortable position where the neck can be long and the chins drop down very slightly. We're going to bring elbows into the waist and have the palms face up. Now from here, we're going to open the hands out wide. As we're doing that, keeping the ribs stacked over the hips and only coming out as wide as you can. So these upper arm bones are turning out the way and then coming back in. So this is going to get the front of the shoulders activated and open, and as we're coming out, we're squeezing these shoulder blades back towards each other, opening out and bringing it in, and opening it out, bringing it in. This is excellent to do when you're sitting at your desk, because you don't need to stand up to do it, you don't need to do anything else to do it, you can just squeeze that open and then bring it back in, and squeeze it open and bring it back in. Then let the arms come down and give the shoulders a bit of a roll. If you're okay coming onto your hands and knees, we're going to come over onto your hands and knees. If you're not comfortable on your hands and knees, what I'm going to ask you to do is come up to standing and then stand in this position. If you can be on your hands and knees, you'll be there. Let the knees settle underneath the hips. When we come onto our hands, we want to think about this upper arm bone drawn into the shoulder socket. That's going to activate the muscles around the armpit, around the back of the shoulder. And the neck being long, so distance from the tailbone, no, the tailbone's at this end, so tailbone all the way up to the back of the neck. Let that be long. And have a quick look at your elbow pits, so where your elbows bend. Make sure that they're kind of facing each other across the front. Lots of us women particularly can have the elbows very hyperextended, which it looks kind of weird. A lot of people don't even notice that they have it, and lots of people can be overly mobile in there, so that's why we keep those elbow pits facing each other. It's going to help activate muscles in your arms as well, so your bingo wings and your biceps are going to get activated from this position. Then bring one hand to the back of the skull. So we're not pulling on the head, we're just letting the fingers rest there. Draw the tummy muscles in, squeeze into your backside and turn your chest out the way. So think about this breastbone opening out. Turn that breastbone into that balancing arm and have a quick check that your elbow pit hasn't moved. And then open it out and bring it back in. So again, this movement, do another two on that side. We're getting some movement into the rib cage, into the waist, into the spine as we're opening out. We're not trying to get as far round as we can and move the hips. We want to try and keep the hips steady. Open out and come back in. Switch to the other side. As you go to the other side, again, check that elbow pit before you start moving. Open out through that breastbone and then turn back in. And when you change sides, it might feel completely different, it might feel tighter, so don't try and force it, just notice, oh, things are a bit more locked up this way. And we can work on that over time. And sometimes the awareness is enough to help free things up. And then finish that last one. Sit the hips back, go towards child's pose. And then walk the hands as far forward as is comfortable. Still thinking about sending the tailbone down towards the floor. And then walk the hands back, roll yourself up. We're going to come up to standing. So come onto the knees, step one foot forward, plant this foot down, and brace yourself up. Trying to not use your hands. Let the feet come to about hip width apart. So if you're not sure what hip width apart for you is, bring the feet together, turn the toes out, and then pull the heels out. And see how that feels. If it feels like it's pulling in at the hips, the knees, or the ankles, then adjust your feet, and it might mean that the toes are slightly turned out here. Let that happen if that's what you need. Ground down through the soles of your feet. So think about your tripod points on the soles of the feet. Talk about this in yoga as well. Pad at the base of the heel, pad at the base of the big toe, pad at the base of the little toe. Pick your toes up, spread the toes out, press the tips of the toes down. So when we're pressing the tips of the toes down, we're trying to activate this arch between the ball of the foot and the heel. As you do that, feel the muscles in the legs start to activate. It might also help to draw the tummy muscles in here, so we get this lifting feeling from the floor, standing tall through the crown of the head. So similar to when we were sitting down, ear over the shoulder, over the hip, over the knee, over the ankle is your optimal position. Notice how much work that is for you, and it might be that your work here is to let the body relax and then pull yourself into that posture, and that's where you need to start to build your strength. From here, think about those strong active arches. Come up onto the balls of the feet, and then as the heels come back down, start to sit the hips back and see what kind of range of movement that you have that feels comfortable for you to come all the way back up. So going up onto the balls of the feet, bringing it down, let the heels come down, start to sit the hips back. Now if you feel any discomfort in your knees, make your movement smaller, so you might be that you just go here and then back up, and that's where you start. If your hips are tight, if your lower back's tight, that's going to restrict how much you can move into that. Coming up onto the balls of the feet and then slowly back down. We're going to add in arm movement, so as we're coming up, take the arms up and overhead, and then as we're coming back down, bring the arms down and then sit in, come back up, taking it up, bring it down, sit it back. Now if you're wobbling all over the place, what you might be doing is throwing yourself forward. If that's happening to you, go near a wall, pop your fingertips onto the wall to give you a point of grounding. When you come down from the next one, let that settle. Step the feet slightly wider so you're about shoulder width apart. We're going to bring our hands into cactus position. Ground down through the feet. Strong through the arches, strong through the legs. Draw the tummy muscles in, keep the ribs stacked over the hips. Take an inhale here, and as you exhale, start to turn towards one side. So we're going into this rotation, but getting a bit more rotation into the spine. Inhale, bring it back through the centre. Exhale, take it round to the other side. Inhale through the centre. Exhale, take a turn. Inhale through the centre one more time. Exhale, take a return. Bring it back down, let the arms come down, roll out your shoulders. Let the weight come in to one foot, standing tall through the crown of the head. We're going to bring the leg up to about knee height, knee up to hip height. And hold your balance there. If you want to bring your hands onto your hips, you can. If you prefer to keep your hands down at the side, you can. And just holding that and think about this foot that we're balancing into. We want the heel and the ball of the foot activated, connected to the floor so that we're strong through this balancing leg. Bring this leg down. We're going to come back up. Hold it here and then see if you can straighten your leg out. Now if your thigh cramps, lower your leg down a bit. Bend the knee. Bring the foot back down. When we come up this time, we're going to keep the hips pointing to the front. Move the knee out to the sides. Squeeze into your backside here. Keep the tummy muscles in, bring it back into the centre. Bring the foot down. Bring it up. Take it out to the side. And then can you straighten the leg out there? Again, if the thigh cramps, lower the leg down. Bring it back through. Take it down. Bring it up. We're going to keep the knee bent. Lower the thigh down. And push the sole of the foot out behind. So squeeze into your backside, squeeze into the hamstring. If you wobble at any point and you need to catch yourself, you can always bring your foot down. Bring that back up through the centre. Bring the foot down. We go up. Keep the knee bent. Lower the thigh. And then can you straighten that leg out? Push through the heel so you're activating all the way down that leg, straightened leg. Bend the knee. Bring it back up through the centre, bring the foot down, release off that balancing leg. Just done quite a bit of work in that balancing leg, so we're going to turn it to the other side, or just step over to the other side and turn around so you can see what I'm doing. Tall through the crown of the head, think of those posture points, strong through the arch of the foot, hip bones level, bring the knee up to about the hip. Think about that strong balancing leg. Bring the leg down. Come back up. And then can you extend the leg out? Remember, thigh cramps, you lower it down. Bend the knee. Bring it back down. Bring it up. Take it out to the side. Make sure that you're keeping your breath nice and smooth. Bring it back in. Bring it down. Bring it up, take the leg out to the sides. Can you straighten it out there? Bend the knee, bring it back in, bring it down, bring it up, keep the knee bent, press the sole of the foot out behind, squeeze into the backside, squeeze into that hamstring. Bring it back up, bring the foot down. Bring it up, this is your last one. Press the sole of the foot out behind. Can you straighten the leg there? Activate the whole of the back of the leg. Bend the knee. Bring it up. Bring it down. Release off that balancing leg. And we're going to get that sideways movement in to help free up our hips. So coming back to about hip width apart, you're going to take one leg, cross it behind, and then bend the knees. So as though you're going into a curtsy. Bring it back up. Same side. Go again. Same side. One more. Same side. And then we're going to switch sides. So 4 here. Cross it over, bend the knees. Bring it up. Cross it over, bend the knees. Bring it up. 2 more. We're getting these hips opened up. We're getting the butt muscles fired up. Really important for your posture. And then loosen that off. We're going to step back. So step the foot back, lower the knees down, bring it up, tap the toe in. So 4 to each side, do all 4 on one side before we switch. Take it back, bring it down, up, last one here. Notice we're trying to keep the ear, shoulder, hip still in line with each other. Switch to the other side. Other legs going back, bring the knees close to the floor as you can and back up. And it doesn't matter if you're up here, you're doing what you're doing for you, getting a bit of a release into the front of these hips. Trying to keep ear, shoulder, hip in line. Last one here. Bring it up. We are then going to take one leg out to the side, so go quite long. And then bend into that leg that moved and tap it in. So out wide, getting a release into these inner thighs. Bring it in. Bring it up. One more. And up. And then switch into the other side. Just going to move across my root. Taking it out. The leg you're landing in is the one that bends. Come up. One more of these. We are then going to step forward. So let me just turn around. Stepping forward, Coming down, the leg that's back, that hand is going to touch to the outside of that foot and back up. So down, touch to the outside and back up. Now if you can't reach to the floor, touch to the outside of the leg. One more. And then switch. So coming down, reach towards the outside and back up. And this side might be different. Last one. Bring it back in. Bring your feet back to about your hip width. And then we're going to see how it feels now to start to sit the hips back and then come back up. So we've opened up the hips, we've activated the muscles in the legs. You might be able to go a tiny bit deeper. Don't force it if that doesn't feel right. Still think about those knees. Any discomfort, you make your move a bit smaller. So it might be that you still go in and out an inch, but it might feel a bit easier. Last one. And then we're going to come down to the floor. So coming down to the floor if you can without using your hands, so they're activating the muscles in the legs and the back side. And then come all the way onto your back. Bring your knees into your chest. Take a couple of rocks from side to side. Bringing the feet back into the floor and think about your posture while we're here. Let the hands come down to the sides. So when we're in seated or standing, ear, shoulder, hip, we want to be in line. When we're lying on the floor allows that to happen. But notice the position of your skull. Just going to turn this over so you can see a bit better. If you're really tight in at the back of the neck, your chin might be lifted up towards the ceiling. If it is, can you drop it down? So thinking about the neck being long. If your neck is really tight, you might want to put a cushion in at the back of the head just to give it a small elevation. Think about the chest being open, shoulder blades dropping back to the floor. Notice your ribs. If your ribs are popped up, can you press them down? So imagine if you laugh and you go ha, and the ribs pull in and down. We want to have them in that in and down position. Let the feet settle into the floor. We're going to take this into a shoulder bridge, We're going to activate as many muscles in this exercise as we can. So find a space for the feet that you can press the feet down, get strong through the arches, feel the muscles in the legs start to activate. We're going to send the lower back to the floor, so flatten your spine in against the floor. Squeeze the backside as you start to lift the hips up and away from the floor. Rolling the spine up. Press your feet and shoulder blades into your mat. And only come up as high as feels comfortable. So we're working the backside, we're working the back of the legs, working the tummy muscles, working the upper back. Check the position of your chin. Your chin should be closer to your chest than it was at the start position. Holding at the top here, keep your breath nice and smooth, and then you're going to pop one heel up to keep the toes on the floor, lift the heel, and then imagine that there's a squishy ball underneath it or a balloon and you're trying to burst it, so press down as firmly as you can, and then pop the other heel up and press it down as firmly as you can. So while we're doing this, we're keeping the hips exactly where they are, really firing up the muscles down the back of the body, pressing from one side to the other. Keep your breath smooth, really working all these muscles down the back of the body. The more firmly you press down, the more muscles you're going to activate. So you're crushing something that you want to crush. We'll do that one last time to each side. Hopefully you can feel some warmth in the muscles in the back of the legs. And then roll the spine down. Hug the knees up into the chest. Gentle rock from side to side. We're going to bring the feet back down onto the floor, and then we're going to bring the legs together, so we're squeezing the thighs, the calves and the heels towards each other. Take your arms out wide with the palms faced up. We do this move in yoga where we let the knees go from one side to the other, but in yoga we're really trying to relax the body from one side to the other. When we're doing this here to build some strength in the waist and the abdominal muscles, we're going to squeeze the legs together, Press the shoulder blades down, make sure your neck is long, and take the knees towards one side, but only go as far as you can still keep the tummy muscles drawn in. And then use those tummy muscles, bring the knees back through the centre, and then start to take the knees to the other side. So we're squeezing the legs in against each other. This top foot should be lifting off the floor so that the soles of the feet are staying in line with each other as they come up. Pull the tummy muscles in, take it over. So if you're not sure if that's happening, just look at your knees and check that the knees stay right next to each other as you go over. And then as you come back, keep drawing in through the centre. Then we're going to keep the shoulder blades pinned into the floor, bring both arms up, fingertips are pointing to the ceiling. Then as the knees go to the right, bring the left arm down to the floor, and then as the knees go to the left, bring the right arm down to the floor. As the knees come back, the arm comes back, going to the other side. So again, this exercise is really good for strengthening upper back muscles, really good for helping open the chest, getting that waist activated. Last one of these to each side. And then when you've done that last one, you can let the arms come back down. Give your body whatever movement feels nice for it here. And then if there's any other movement that your body feels like it needs before we go into rest, into relaxation, give your body that movement now. So all the same options for your relaxation as we normally have when we do yoga. You can have the knees bent, feet wider than the hips, with the knees tented against each other. You could have the legs out long, feet wider than the hips, toes flopped out to the side. You can have your hands away from the body with the palms faced up, or the hands rested onto your body, whichever feels more beneficial to you. Eyes can be open or closed. Closed will help take away distractions. A couple of deep breaths in and out. And just noticing whatever there is to notice in your body. I'm going to invite you to stay in your relaxation for as long as you need, but when you're finished with your relaxation and you come back up to a seat, whatever your seated posture looks like, or seated position, when we started class I got you to sit in a comfortable position and just notice where your head sits, where your shoulders sit, how your posture feels. So once you've finished all of this and you come back up, just notice how your posture feels after just doing that really short session, and let me know how you go on with it. We're going to take it into meditation. Following the breath in, following the breath out. And noticing the movement that happens in your body as you're taking those breaths. Being aware of any restrictions. And if there's any way to let those restrictions go, whether they're physical, mental or emotional, try and let them go on the exhale. And taking a moment to give yourself some thanks for showing up to do this session. Feel that gratitude in your body. And then a positive intention or goal, setting it and saying it to yourself in a short positive statement as though it is something that you have already achieved. I always like to give some examples here if you're not sure. So things like, I am powerful, I am calm, I am healing. Whatever it is you need to bring in, choose something or whatever pops into your mind, accept that and then repeat it to yourself 3 times. And then I'm going to invite you to stay here for as long as you can or as long as you need. Just staying with your breath, following your breath in and out. And only when you're ready do you take yourself off into your day. Checking in with your posture every now and again just to notice what your habits are and see how it feels to hold yourself a little bit taller, a little bit stronger.